Hello again team, it's Jess or JashiiCorrin and welcome back for another PowerSheets video. Today we're going to be having a look at the progress that I made in March and my intentions for April. As well as this, we also have the spring check-in, not that it's spring in New Zealand, but I figured I'd just use my PowerSheets in the order that they were intended, rather than flipping forward to autumn. Now before we start having a look at March, I just want to say it didn't happen. Whether that be any of the things on my attending list or actually just getting into my PowerSheets in general. As it likely was for a lot of you guys, March was a bit of a struggle, with either finding the time or motivation to work on my goals, amidst everything else that was going on. But starting from the top. So the first action item I had was my meal planning cheat sheet continued. And honestly, I actually made the meal planning cheat sheet, so I feel like I kind of need to fill that in. As I mentioned, I didn't really get into my PowerSheets in March, so some of these probably aren't filled in the way they should be. As I said though, the meal planning cheat sheet did get made. It hasn't been utilised fully yet, but it has already proved to be useful. The next task I had was to review and tweak my daily/weekly routines, and that did not happen, so we'll just move on. Thirdly, for my recreation goal, this was to list the things to do in Seoul. But as you guys know, and I just got off the phone with my mum and it looks like we're gonna be cancelling our Korea trip. Fucking virus. Seoul isn't happening anytime soon. After we had to cancel our trip to South Korea, we then started planning one to Queenstown, got everything booked for that, and then that one had to be cancelled as well. It's a bit of a shame because all of my action items for that goal in particular have just been around planning and getting to South Korea. But because I've now done all that planning, at least I have all of those itinerary items that I can use when we plan our next trip. The next one was to continue decluttering my digital files, and this did happen, but because I wasn't very specific with this, I was kind of all over the place. I think it needs a little bit more of a plan. My financial goal did not get worked on. My school goal did, so my topic 2 materials are coming along. There is still work to be done with those though. Channel/account art didn't happen. Seeing friends did.
Jesus. Just do what Jason and brush it to the side.
Wait a minute.
My Spark,
so
they do not talk.
So you should talk to Josh about Vodafone, because Josh now works.
I'm sure there's a parallel universe, but that would be an incredibly bad thing.
And then, of course, because you're watching this video, the April tending list has been written. For my weekly action items, so proper meal planning, no. I made a spread in my journal for this, but it only really got used for the first 2 weeks, and even then, it wasn't really a proper plan. Weekly check-in done properly also didn't really happen. It did for the first week, but not for the rest of them. Household work, well, I continue to put off the same things, and that's usually washing the sheets and cleaning the bathroom. For budgeting, I do get to colour in that last one because it did get done. But those middle 2 weeks didn't. In terms of being prepped for next week, that one technically happened, though I won't necessarily say that I was actually prepared for the week at the start of the week. Content posting did happen, so I need to colour those in. Except for the 2 weekly plan with me's that I missed. And I half coloured in time with Vogel because I don't really feel like it was quality time, it was just time in each other's presence, if that kind of makes sense. Daily habits were a bit of a bust. I was on time for work though. Finishing by 5 PM did not happen until the holidays started. Getting into my PowerSheets and bullet journal also didn't happen, and sticking to plan with my meal plan, well, that's hard to do if you don't actually write a meal plan. Moving on. So just reading quickly through our month in review. This month, or March, I was especially grateful for the internet and social media so that I could keep in contact with everyone while we're in lockdown. Goals that are growing well, I said, it feels like none of them, so yeah. And then I remembered that I made the meal planning cheat sheet, so I put that one on. Someone I'm grateful for was Jacinda Ardern for being a calm and trustworthy leader. She's the Prime Minister of New Zealand. Someone I'm grateful for and why is Vogel for being my isolation partner. I'm choosing grace over guilt about ignoring my planners during this stressful time. Progress that I'm celebrating, even if it was small, was having less fast food, but technically the only reason I'm not having fast food is because all the shops are closed. Favourite memories from the month are all of my social ones, so Cobb & Co, Carrie and Michael's housewarming, and then having Minecraft dates with Rachel and Scotty. And a good lesson learned was that a lot can change in a short amount of time. What I'm saying no to in April is feeling guilty or down about things outside of my control. And what I'm saying yes to is being kind to myself, but not making excuses. So, one thing at a time, on to the spring checklists. So as I mentioned, it is actually autumn in New Zealand, not spring. So some of these things kind of feel a little bit out of place. We don't have that whole like new life vibe going. But as I said, I'm going to work through in the intended order, so this is what I've got this month. Here it says, it is time for some spring cleaning. Press the restart button and clear out all of the clutter that prevents you from spending your time intentionally. It's never too late for a fresh start, whether that means saying no, creating spaces in your home that fire you up, or clearing out internet clutter. Here are a few simple challenges to give you a fresh start and clear direction. So for the internet clutter one, it gives you some ideas, and honestly, I kind of didn't like this. I would have preferred to have maybe like a list of ideas somewhere else, whether that be like on the Cultivate What Matters blog or something, but actually have the space to write my own ideas down here. Because honestly, I don't really give a toss about having a social media free weekend. The list of accounts I follow is already simple enough. The last three are probably relevant, but again, I'd prefer to come to these decisions on my own. In terms of physical clutter, I don't really have a lot of physical clutter, except for the stuff in my desk. So I wrote down my desk, and then I wrote in teacher folders and personal folders, but they're not physical folders, they're digital ones. So that's why my physical has quotation marks. In terms of heart clutter, so it says 3 purpose-filled things to do when feeling lost in the comparison trap. The 3 that I wrote down were setting up new collections, writing in my gratitude log, and reviewing my achieved milestones. So the way I kind of approached this was things that I can do to kind of remind myself of why I do what I do, if that kind of makes sense. So practicing gratitude is always a good way to get yourself out of the comparison trap. At least I feel that it is. So thinking about the things in my life that kind of fire me up and make me happy. In terms of reviewing achieved milestones, this kind of comes down to the idea that a lot of the time with my goals, I feel like I'm not really making progress. So it's good to look back and say, look, hey, actually you've done all of these things so far, you're totally making progress. And setting up a new collection, that's really just a purpose-filled thing. I have plenty of collections that I want to make, it's just I haven't gotten around to doing them. No time like the present. For decision clutter, 3 decisions that will help me have a clean slate and live more purposefully. So things that I wrote down here were setting time for my chores, using the meal planning cheat sheet, and then reviewing my inbox filters. So when I think about decision clutter, I think about the idea of like the energy and time tax that comes with making decisions. So what kind of things in my life can I automate so I don't have to think about having to do them? So for instance, if I set time for my chores, then I know at that time I do my chores. I don't have to and ah about when I'm going to do things. Same idea with the meal planning cheat sheet. Planning meals for the week is literally one of the most stressful things that I have to do. Because I'm fussy as heck, Vogel's fussy as heck, and right now going to the supermarket is a giant frickin' mission. So yeah, if we can streamline that process, I'm all for it. And similar idea with my inbox filters, so making sure that I'm only getting the stuff that I want to get, and it's going into the right places. So not just cluttering up my inbox. The next part it says is use social media and your times of connectivity on purpose. Write out a mission statement for how and why you will use them well. Cut out this page and post it near your computer or desk. If you find yourself mindlessly using social media again, check your motives and get back to living on purpose in all things. Now, as I mentioned before, I kind of don't have the same view on social media that I feel my PowerSheets are trying to make me have. So things that I use social media for: connection, sharing, and inspiration. I didn't really feel the need to write down a mission statement for those 3 ideas, so I just wrote them here in the corner. I do know that I probably spend too much time on social media, but honestly, it doesn't really bother me that much. And especially in a time of our life like the present, I'm not going to be harsh on myself for mindlessly scrolling on social media for a little bit of escapism. So, yeah. Flipping over though. Here we have the goal refresh. Now, I'm not going to read through all of these, but feel free to pause and take a look if you feel so inclined. A general gist is, though, I'm trying to say no to excuses, because I feel like I've been giving myself excuses a lot. And things I'm saying yes to are intentionality, connection, and boundaries, mainly. Flipping over. So in this part, you were supposed to rewrite your goals. So as part of the goal refresh, it says, progress, not perfection. Flip back to your original goals and choose your path. Either rewrite your goals with fresh words or move on to new goals. So I didn't really feel like I needed to change what my goals were. There's still things that I care about. There's still things I want to work on. So what I did was in the corner of each of these, I wrote out what my goal was. And then I just kind of brainstormed some ideas about how I might want to work on them. I only gave myself a very small amount of time to do this because I didn't want to and ah too much, which is why my handwriting is a little bit messier here than it usually is. Again, feel free to pause and have a look at this page if you're curious, but moving on. We are on to April. So, preparing well, important to-dos, preparing for remote learning. Not this week coming, but the week after we start term 2, and I know we're going to have at least 2 weeks of remote learning, so I want to make sure that I'm well prepared for that. I've also got the month of planning with me series at the moment, and I also want to make sure that I'm making the most of my time off. I've talked about it previously, but a lot of the time when I have holiday periods, I feel like I should be being productive, so I stop myself from doing things that are enjoyable, which kind of puts me in this kind of stalemate purgatory kind of thing where I'm not really doing the productive things, but I'm also not actively having leisure time. So that's something I want to address. I'm excited for spending time at home. Honestly, I like being at home. I'm very much a homebody, so I think it's going to be nice having some time to be here. On my mind, all of the stresses of right now. Also remote learning, because I feel like my lessons just aren't anywhere near as engaging as they are when I'm in the classroom. And also being hard on myself for not being productive during lockdown. As I said, it's a stressful time. I need to be nicer to myself. So, I am hopeful for the lockdown only lasting 4 weeks. I am hopeful that I actually use my journal and PowerSheets this month. So far so good. And I'm hopeful that I make notable progress on my goals. The calendar, I'm not using it, honestly, we just flip it on over. And I started writing some action ideas, but then I really just jumped straight into the tending list. Let's have a look at what it says. So my encouraging words are, let's stay in today. And the reason that I chose this is because I think it's interesting the way that a scenario kind of changes in your mind if you change the way you frame it. So rather than thinking, ugh, I have to stay inside, what I'm going to try and do is frame it as, I am choosing to stay inside, or I get to stay inside. Because I know there are some people out there who don't have the choice to stay inside. They have jobs that require them to still go to work. Or maybe they're in parts of the world that aren't on lockdown and they still have to go out. But on to my action items. So for this month, I decided that instead of trying to focus on all 8 of my goals, I was kind of going to prioritize the ones that I feel I can best work on while I'm at home. So that was mainly these 5 here. So you'll see that outside of these 5, I actually only have 1 action item for another goal. And that one's finish the 5-second rule, which is kind of part of my mental health goal. From the top though, so for monthly action items, I have decluttering all of my folders, and I've separated them all out because I think it's going to be easier to keep track of my progress that way. I have review Q1 spending, summarize and save the information for the South Korea and Queenstown trips, because I'm going to get there eventually and I don't want to have to do all the research again. Preparing for term 2, finishing the 5-second rule, the 1 month of planning with me series, and then writing my May tending list. For my weekly action items, I have a social gathering, and I use quotation marks because it'll probably be online, towel washing and then cleaning the bathrooms or doing the sheet laundry. I decided to separate these out from each other to better see which ones were getting done and which ones weren't. FaceTime with mum and dad, date night with Vogel, and then doing the budgeting. And for my daily action items, I have morning work, so sectioning off a portion of my morning to be productive and get stuff done. Active leisure time, and then no spend. That last one's kind of just a throwaway because I'm not going to be spending a lot when I'm not leaving the house. I'm feeling pretty good about the stuff on my tending list this month, and I'm hoping that I make good progress, as per every month. Really, I'm just hoping I actually get into my PowerSheets and record stuff. That's the first main hurdle to overcome. I'd love to know though, what are your guys' action items for your goals in the month coming? Are you changing your goals up this month, or are you sticking with the ones you've had since the start of the year? What kind of things are you doing to re-energize yourself and getting back into the swing of things and all of that good stuff? Thank you for watching, team. If you liked today's video, please do make sure to give it a big thumbs up. And if you wanted to see more from me, feel free to go check out one of my other videos. Until next time, bye!